If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flatstick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flatstick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flatstick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flatstick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. It's another edition of Old Crimson, and I mean old. It's all brought to you by Flatstick Pub. Cougar owned and operated, 6 great locations across the state. It has been a while since we have caught up. We thought we would get you caught up on everything that's happened here in Cougar football here in the last month and a half. And again, it's our Cougar coverage all brought to you by Flatstick Pub. Great locations across the state: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. Joining me, as they always do, Paul Sorensen, former All-American at Washington State. You can follow him on social media, Paul Sorensen 28, and the go-to guy, Jimmy Moore. Follow him at Cougs Go. Well, Kirby Moore hired back on December 12th, so we're a little over a month since he was hired, Paul Sorensen, and boy, they have been moving quickly. The last tally I have, and Greg Woods, by the way, doing a great job of tracking all this at the Spokesman Review. 34 players have entered the portal for the Cougs. They've added 25. That number may fluctuate. They've retained a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of re-signings, but Paul, in this new day and age of college football, this last month has been a whirlwind for the Cougs.
It's been insane. In fact, it's an eyelash melter, to say the least. Just think, Puck and Jim, there's 10,576 players in the portal. 6,800 of those guys have not found a home. So it's not necessarily rags to riches for all 10,000 of those guys. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be out, looking for work. So the ones that are able to find a new place and upgrade, good for them. But, 65% of those folks are not going to be able to find a place that are better than what they left. Now, as far as what the Cougs have done, I think it was really a stroke of luck for Kirby Moore to be able to come in before the bowl game, to be able to see what Washington State had for be able to be around this team, and when Jimmy came in from South Dakota State, he brought a lot of those players with him. So he kind of had a team that transferred in. Kirby hasn't had that luxury. He's had to go out. He's brought 10 Power 4 players in with those 24, 25 transfer portal guys, and there's just a bunch of guys that they've been able to reach out to kind of restock this thing, and they've done a nice job of being able to retain the majority of the roster. A lot of the kids that have left have gone with Jimmy Rogers and staff to Iowa State, which makes sense. The majority of those guys are on the defensive side. So I just think they've done a really brilliant job. And I think kudos need to go out to Brad Lorendo, who's the senior AD and GM, and also Dan Van Der Rick, who's the chief of staff, who spent a bunch of years with Jonathan Smith at both Oregon State and Michigan State. Those are the top 2 guys that are in charge of the portal, the NIL, and all of that stuff in terms of building this roster along with the football staff. They have stepped in and really stepped up to build this staff.
Yeah, we're going to get into all the additions of the coaches, and we'll start with those 2 guys in just a second. And we're not going to go through every player and break them down, because no one knows any of these players. Jim, it's crazy though just how much turnover there has been. I mean, good and bad. I mean, I think let's look at it from the 4,000 feet view here for a second. I thought that they were going to lose all of these South Dakota State guys. Now, they lost a lot of South Dakota State guys that were recruited and came in as freshmen that did get a little bit of time that I don't think a lot of people know about. But, and you get the Maxwell Woods and the Kirby Voorhees, I think, those guys that came over for Jimmy Rogers, and they didn't lose them. They for Voorhees, went in the portal and ended up coming back. I just think that his retention of some of these guys, I think, has been surprising, at least for me.
Well, the whole thing, I have a hard time keeping up with it. It seems like there's a new recruit coming in, or a new transfer anyway, coming in every single day. And they seem like they're guys that are really going to contribute and take off right away. Paul, I'm just curious, so how are we getting these Power 4 kids? I guess it's just more of an opportunity to play than they were getting at the Power 4 schools. And then where are we coming up with the money to pay these kids? It sure seems like there's been an influx of money. And I don't know if it's from the buyout of Jimmy Rogers or something else, but I have a hard time believing that it's guys like me contributing $18.90 a month that are keeping these kids.
Good job, Jim. No, I think it's a combination of the buyout from Jimmy Moore, which was $4 million, the Washington State University stepping up with their NIL program, and the collectives. two, the Cougar Athletic Foundation Collective and the Cougar Collective itself, guys like you at 1890. And I think Washington State got shamed a little bit by the Iowa State athletic director. He came out and he kind of embarrassed the Cougs by saying what he said when they hired Jimmy Rogers. And I think donors have stepped up. Now, it's not the $1 billion donor guys that some of the schools like Indiana and Oregon and Texas Tech have. It's a majority of people that are stepping up and contributing to Washington State University and the different collectives. They are donating to the school, and it's making a difference.
What the Iowa State's what'd he say?
They came in and said the Cougs only have like $2.5 million in NIL, and that was institutional support. So that was kind of correct in one sense, but it wasn't correct overall. And that's one thing that ADs don't usually call out other schools like that. That was a bit of a dick move, by him when they hired Jimmy, from that perspective. And I think Cougar fans kind of went, fuck you, man. Who are you to call us out after you steal our coach? And you turn around and it's like, crapping on the white carpet in the front room and you rub your nose in it. That was not cool. I didn't think. So I think Washington State fans took affront to that, and they're turning around and they're saying, okay, here's what we're going to do now. And they're stepping up.
There's a lot of excitement. I think there's a lot of excitement that has come out about it. And I just think that also, and just in terms of the amount of money, well, I mean, how many more follow-ups do you want to ask? Jesus.
No, I'm just
gave you what I got.
Just curious,
That's all I got,
how you came up. How'd you come up with poodle instead of the black lab? Or
I didn't want to embarrass your dogs because I know they crap in your front room and you're okay with that. So
does anyone care about poodles right now?
Fuck off!
Want to talk more about your bark in the park?
About my microphone not working, and then giving me shit about interjecting something about dogs. Fuck off!
I got a dog comment in there for you, Jim.
Christ,
I
got
that
this
was
fucking
great.
microphone right here, and the red fucking button is on. See it? The red button's on, and yet it's not fucking working.
We just spun off into orbit. It took us an hour and a half.
And you know why it's not working, Paul? Because I'm fucking old. Everything that goes wrong in my life, oh my God, I'm 68.
That's
why everything is going wrong. Because I'm too fucking old to understand what's going on.
10 and 2. Let's get it back on. Let's get it back. 10 and 2. 10 and 2.
10 and 2. Right. Nobody drives 10 and 2.
I'm giving you a hug.
Everybody's driving with their knees and eating like
it's me. Okay. Calm down.
10 and 2.
Down.
10 and 2.
Go.
Yeah, all right. So part of the reason, I think a lot of it has to do with people probably giving more to the collective. I think the big part of it is President Cantwell being is using two things. One, they're using that buyout, which you just talked about.
That's $4
million.
million.
Number two, with the previous president, this administration didn't do, was actually fund the football program. And I think that's what's happening too. I think she is tapping into other resources that previous presidents just didn't want to do, or at least the last one didn't want to do. She's doing it, because that's always been the biggest gripe, right? You've heard a lot of people talk about it. Alex Brink and you and others just saying, listen, the Board of Regents and Upper Campus needs to get behind the football program and start spending like these other schools do. She understands that. She's very, very much like Bill Moose and President Elson Floyd, the late Elson Floyd, where they understood, especially President Floyd, that the window into your school was through athletics. Now, maybe the academia doesn't like that, but that's just the reality. There's no coincidence why under Mike Leach in those years where they're winning 10 games that their enrollment went through the roof, because Washington State became this global, this national university.
Well, yeah,
and people wanted to go play there. People wanted to go to school there. It looked fun. And again, I remember Floyd. I sat in with a dinner with him one time saying, yes, it's football, football, football. And I think she's got a little bit of that mentality, Paul.
Well,
I think a lot of it, actually.
Think of the old Crimson, what that moniker means. The flags on game day, all of the different branding that's going on. She understands that. She took Utah State, fought, scratched, and kicked to get him into the Pac-12 because she knew what that meant to that school and how important that was with Utah and BYU in there. Having Utah State in the Pac-12, that was huge. She did everything in her power to get that school in there when nobody else wanted that school. Does that sound familiar, Coug fan? In terms of what everybody thought about us, in Oregon State when they kicked us to the curb so she's fighting the same fight because she's been there and done it. I love her for that. And so I think there's still some fights that need to be fought. I think there's some institutional support that still needs to come forward. But hey, baby steps, man. We're getting there. We're doing some great things, and give Kirby and company credit for basically, stepping up and doing what they're doing in this month period of time. I think has been absolutely remarkable. And I think there's a great vibe going right now on campus. I love it.
Yeah. And Jim, I feel there's an excitement around this football program that I'll be honest with you, I just don't. It's been a while, actually. There certainly wasn't this level of excitement a year ago when they introduced Jimmy Rogers.
No, I think, it starts with Kirby Moore being from Prosser. We love that he's an Eastern Washington kid who grew up being a Coug fan. And then you go from there, and yeah, I was on board with Neuheisel, but now, in hindsight, I know that was crazy to be
on board.
Yeah.
You were in bed, Jim. You were sleeping with him.
You were giving a reach around.
Yeah. I'd sleep with Neuheisel before I'd sleep with you, Paul, as much as I love you.
And I don't blame you. He's much better looking than I am. I would do the same
Puck.
thing. So
no
good
way.
for you.
No way I'd sleep
What
with
would you
Puck.
let Neuheisel do to you?
Anything he wanted. Okay? Anything he wanted. I love the guy. Fuck off, everyone. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Not the listeners. Not anyone who's trying to pay attention.
Not the
to
listeners.
this.
Just
we will have
Neuheisel.
no
Just
listeners
Neuheisel.
after
Can we
that
go to
comment.
the poodle now, or is Puck going to give me shit?
Yeah, you can go back
I
to
got
the
you a
poodle.
dog
if
in
you
the
want.
show. I think
Microphone
that
not
was very
working,
good
even
by
though the
you.
red light's not on there. See the red lights there, everybody? Okay.
10-2.
No,
10-2.
Kirby Moore, come on. I'm excited. Everybody's excited about what he's doing. There's that part of me, though, that's just curious, like, okay, so we're getting all these kids that are staying. We're getting all these kids that want to come and play for us. This tank kid from Florida, the wide receiver, I'm excited about him. Heard he runs a 4.25 40. So all these different things. The quarterback, the Big Sky freshman of the year, I'm excited about him. All these stuff. But how in the world are we doing this? I want to know how much money we have all of a sudden. Like, is it found money under the couch cushions?
You just asked
what
that
the hell is going
question
on?
5 minutes ago.
I know.
They're
I'm going
not
to
going
ask
to
the
disclose
fucking
the
thing
number. They're not going to disclose the number because they're not going to give that number out.
We just answered it.
No, you
5
didn't
minutes
answer
ago.
it. You didn't give me a monetary figure. I mean, what? Okay, go ahead and answer it again then, since I'm a dumb fuck. Go ahead.
The question you asked is, where are we getting this money? And
I want to know how much it is, too.
They're not going to disclose that. Why would they do that?
What do you estimate? What do you think? I mean, because I'm curious as a fan.
It's more
of the
than what
team,
they had last year. Let me just put it that way.
How in the world are we able to keep these kids?
More
money.
money.
Able to put your dog away? Or
yeah, seriously, that's annoying when it barks. Get your poodle and put it back in the shed, would you? Jesus, Jim.
You are a wreck.
And make sure your microphone works too, would you? And if the listeners knew what it took to get on the air, poor Puck. I don't know how you do this podcast, dude, when you have to deal with two dumbasses like him and I. Good Lord.
I'm really like a saint.
You are. You're going right to heaven. All dogs go to heaven, and Puckett. He's joining them as well.
I would like, and I know the collective would never say how much money they've had come in, but do you think, let me ask you this, and if you know and then you can't say, that's fine. I'm not going to ask how much money has come in, but we've talked about there's been a new influx of money. We've talked about Upper Campus giving more money. We've discussed Jimmy Rogers' buyout. Has there been some whale, some donor that has stepped up?
I think there is. I don't know for sure, but I think the collective. I think there's more donors, first of all, and I think you start.
But one big one like that. People like, and I'm not saying Phil Knight, and I'm not saying Mark Cuban.
No,
but you get
there's nobody like that. But I
think
get
my gist. But someone that is well.
I think there's a $1 million
others.
donor in there somewhere or two. I think, and I think that's new. Okay. But I don't know that for a fact, and I think that's through the university, and we're not going to find that out. But Washington State has multiple $100 million, potential type donors. I mean, they've got a multi-billion-dollar endowment, at WSU. It's not a poor school. It's not like we have to go out there with hat in hand. And again, I think Cougar folks and donors are reinvigorated. Look what happened with the football facility. They went out and they raised $10 million to get the stadium lights, all that stuff done, and the locker room.
That's
finished.
what amazes me. And there's going to be a $10 million upgrade to that stadium, and you wonder, like, that is triple what was the last reported NIL commitment. And I almost
$3 million in the locker room. That's $13 million they raised in 6 months.
I was almost thinking that I'll be honest with you, as a fan, someone who goes over there, has season tickets, that $10 million they raised for the stadium, I'd rather have them spend it on the team than on the stadium.
Well,
if I'm being honest.
it shows you that they have the capabilities of raising those kinds of funds. And so I think their goal, honestly, she talked about 20 million for the NIL for everything. I think their goal is 15 million for football, 5 million for basketball, and they're trending in that direction. That's what they're doing. That's the number that they're shooting for. I don't know if they've gotten there, but that's what they're trying to get to. Which is for the new Pac-12, I think that's a number that they can be successful at.
For sure. Yeah, I don't think you need I don't think they need to get to that 20 million mark. I don't think they need that. I mean it would be great, but I don't think they need that to compete in this new conference. Do you, Jim? I don't know.
Well, of course, the higher the better. But yeah, no, I don't think. I think you're right, Puck. In this new conference, I think we're going to be fine with a lower amount than that, but certainly higher than what we've had to this point, and encouraging signs of where we're going in that direction. By all appearances to it, because look at everybody we're retaining and getting to come to Pullman to play football for the Cougs.
He's been great. I mean, I think he's done a good job. I mean, again, I think there's been some big losses. I think, and that's mainly Paul's happened on the defensive side.
Yeah.
And again, I know they got a bunch of guys back in on the D line in the portal, but I don't know anything about these guys. But when you look at some of the losses of the players that majority of the people know, because there are a lot of guys that were freshmen that they did lose that did follow Rogers to Iowa State that came over from South Dakota State. But you're talking about Isaac Terrell, Lamb, the linebackers,
the defensive front, the linebackers, your front seven, couple
the
of the DBs that were freshmen. Yep, the freshmen, and then they lost a kid to Illinois. They lost a couple of guys to Boston College, that had coaches. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to go through like the Max Balloon guy and Sanjo and Carter Paps. Polano. I don't think Anthony Polano's gone anywhere yet, but he's in the portal. But I don't know if he has yet. Has he already committed? I cannot keep up.
I thought he went to Illinois.
Is he the Boston College kid?
Well, maybe he was Boston College. Right. Yeah, I think. And there was another kid, a corner that went to Boston, or safety that went to Boston College because they had a coach connection there. So they had two guys who went to BC. That one guy went to Illinois. A bunch of guys Iowa State. But that's okay.
But I think the guys that you like that they brought back, I mean, they get the two tight ends back and Baker and Lechner, and I think there's a lot. When you start thinking of those guys, how better that they can use them, they probably will use them more maybe in this system. At least it looks like it. We've talked about the running backs. I think the fact is they got every offensive lineman basically coming back.
Yeah.
Was a huge step, I think, for them. And then they get that young freshman quarterback that we've talked about a lot. Keith Brown comes back for one more year. They get their kicker back. So I just think for the most part, I think his retention of guys, especially his retention of some of these South Dakota State guys, was pretty impressive. And that they didn't go, and maybe Rogers and his staff at Iowa State said we didn't want those guys anyways. If we wanted them, we would have took them.
Well, it's funny too because on offense with Phoenix, the kid from UC Davis, Eshelman, who I really like, who's kind of the heir apparent, if you talk to some of the coaches, and Duggar, those three guys are really kind of what Kirby Moore wants to have. They're dual threat guys that can run and pass that gives you that option. So if you just look at the bowl game, you look at what Zevi did. First 15 plays were all passes. Then all of a sudden they started rushing 3, dropping 8. Guess what they did in the second half? They pounded the football and ran it, and they had no idea how to stop it. So that's the kind of offense that Kirby Moore, go back to Fresno State when they crushed us in the bowl game back in the day, then go back to Boise State, and when they had the great teams that Boise State had, they were very solid running the ball, and they had a quarterback that could RPO you. That's what they want to get to, and those are three quarterbacks that give you that option, being able to run the football and throw it as well.
Okay,
Jim,
Paul, if you had to handicap the quarterback competition, what would it be? Who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, and how close is it if it's a horse race?
Well, right now, because I've seen the kid from Davis. I like him. I mean, he's a faster Zevi, and he's a little bit more accurate. And he's got a better arm. Okay, but I haven't seen Eshelman other than just a couple of practices. I like Duggar as an athlete. He's a stud, but he's got to improve his passing. So if his passing improves, I think it's a horse race. And right now I would go with the Davis kid and Eshelman. One, I like 1A, 1B. And if Duggar can improve, he's got a chance because he's the best athlete of the group. So I'm going with the Davis kid.
Why is Duggar hanging around?
He's got a chance to play. He can play. He's a great athlete. He's a big, strong, he's a track star with a frickin' rocket for an arm. He just needs touch. He needs to play quarterback and not be athlete guy who can go out there like an 8th grader and just be bigger and faster than everybody else. So if he can establish himself as a quarterback, drop back, have the fundamentals, throw the football on time, have the timing thing, he's going to be a hell of a quarterback. So I think that's where the maturation process is coming in and getting him coached up. He's going to be a guy that can be, a difference maker. But right now, the top 2 guys are the 2 that I mentioned, because they're your legitimate quarterbacks that can RPO you, they can run it, and they can throw it, and they have the touch at that position to make things happen.
Here's the when we brought this up earlier, but we start looking through the coaching staff that I think Kirby Moore has put together. There is something that kind of stands out, and we'll get to it in just a quick second. But just to go through like the primary guys, you'd mentioned it already. The Brad Leonardo, the GM CEO, he was the CEO of the Missouri NIL. He was the previous chief of staff at Boise under Brian Harsin. He's from that Boise State tree. He graduated from there. It's a great story. He started off as an SID, sports information director, worked his way up to associate AD, and now is running the Cougars, basically NIL. He's basically the CEO of the football team. You had mentioned the Dan D. How do you say his name? Van D. Wright?
Van D. Wright. Yeah.
Van D. Wright.
Sounds Danish.
He's the chief of staff. He worked under Jonathan Smith. He also worked under Mike Riley, both at Nebraska and at Oregon State. Trent Bray, we all know Trent Bray, defensive coordinator, grew up, or at least graduated from Pullman High School. Matt Miller's the OC and the quarterbacks coach. They were teammates at Boise. Him and Kirby, he has coached the past 6 seasons at Boise. He was elevated to the co-offense coordinator last year, coached at Montana State, hails from Helena. Derek Sage should be a familiar name to many. He was a wide receivers coach under Mike Leach in 2017. Let's see, Jack Abercrombie, the O-line coach, worked with Moore the last 3 seasons at Missouri. He's one of like 2 guys that really don't have Northwest ties. He has no Northwest ties to the area. Andrew Browning's the defensive run game coordinator. He played at Boise State. He's coached the past 8 seasons at Cal. Cal's always had a strong defense. 7 of those 8 seasons, he was on the defensive line. Greg Burns, the secondary coach. You should remember Greg Burns. He, early 90s, he played for Dennis Erickson, played for Mike Price. He was in the Copper Bowl. Cato is the tight ends coach. He's the run game coordinator as well. Last 3 years at Missouri. He was the tight ends coach for UW in 2020 and 2021. He spent 4 previous years as an offensive analyst there at Washington. The D tackle coach who is from Eastern Washington.
Etienne. Yeah, he was an OMAC guy. He was a 240-pound running back at a B school. They won state, but he's got relatives that played for Kirby's dad.
Yep. And then Justin Green's a running backs coach. He spent the past 14 seasons at Montana. He played running back there. And then Brandon Thompson, who coaches quarterback, Sacramento State and Cal Poly, he played at Boise State. I just rattled that all off to say.
Don't forget Greg Burns. How about Greg Burns,
right,
the safeties coach? Okay, sorry. Bruce Posse. Yeah. He was a Bruce Posse.
Listen, Paul, come on.
Yeah, if you just listened,
ignoring him
because
I was staring at you and your furry little face up there.
But they all have Northwest ties, every one of them, except for Abercrombie. All Northwest ties, but they're all either Northwest or associated with, and I throw in Boise State. And I just like that connection. I've always wanted Wazoo to look at Boise State because you can model yourself at Boise State. And boy, that's just a great tree to be around. I mean, a program that has had an immense amount of success for, 20 plus years. Why not emulate yourself after them?
Don't you like to think that that'll be as big a rivalry, if not bigger, than with Oregon State in time? I hope it can be. I always thought we should play Boise State every year, even when we were in the Pac-12, Pac-10.
Yeah, I think it's got a chance to be a good one. What did they call it this year? The Snake River Rivalry or something?
Yeah. So
I like that. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
I still think the Beavs and the Cougs should just keep it because we're the original 2 Pac-12 guys. We survived the ass kicking, getting booted, and I think Boise State will be a great rivalry, but I'd still like to see the Beavs and us just kind of hang together for that reason. Also, another little interesting thing you were talking about the tight ends coach, his wife, I think has a clothing company, women's clothing company that's uber successful. I'd say we're doing NIL deals back in Missouri, which would be kind of fun. So we can get Jim Moore some clothing or something that would
Can't
work
wait.
out.
Okay, Paul, I'm going to
that might be
disagree
another
with you about
sponsorship
we got
option for
we
that.
got women's clothing and poodles. How can we top it? Go
I'm
ahead,
trying
Jim.
to tie in the entire demographics here so they feel welcomed. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to disagree with you on Oregon State being our biggest rival. I can't dislike the Beavers. I can dislike Boise State.
That's
I
fair.
can do that. I can get there, but I can't get there with the Beavs.
Can't get there with the
chainsaw. I love the Beavers. I'm never.
Oh,
They're going to be a rival, but they're not going to be a hated
Okay.
rival like the Dogs. Okay, that
right.
will never happen.
Okay. Well,
How excited? I mean, most people. You look ahead to the schedule. We don't know the full schedule, but we do know the first 4 weeks. The first 4 weeks have already been set. They will start September 5th at Washington. I actually really am looking forward to this, and I actually, now that I think about it, I hope they keep this the date for every year moving forward. Yeah, if they're not going to play at the end of the year anymore, they're not going to do that. I hope this rivalry in the Apple Cup now starts off the football season every year. I think it's a great way to do it. The weather will be perfect no matter if you're playing in Seattle or in Pullman, and I just think it's a great way to, rather than play, the Sisters of the Poor to start it off with a banger. So I'm actually excited about this one. I'm actually excited about Washington State's chances actually in this one. I think there's going to be an immense amount of pressure on Damon Williams and the circus he's done to that program going into that game. The fact that you play a rival to start off with, and then there's this great unknown with the new staff. It's a great opportunity for Wazoo to pull off, that week one upset and take them out. So they got Washington the next week. They travel to the Little Apple in Manhattan to take on Kansas State. They come home to face on a big rival, September 19th, Duquesne.
That sounds like a
Pullman.
good basketball school.
Well,
That'll be a good game.
We're playing
And then
Duquesne.
We're playing Duquesne week 3, but it gets better. Week 4,
Arizona.
In comes the Kitty Cats, the Arizona Wildcats, September 26th. So,
hey, I have a great idea for Damon Williams when he runs out of the tunnel in the Apple Cup. You could have a leaf blower running out and launching money out of it, kind of like one of those money machines where you turn the leaf blower on instead of a chainsaw. Just have Williams run out with that blowing money out because, everybody knows how wealthy that guy is and how good he is at maintaining his word. I think that would be an outstanding promotion for Pat Chun and the entire Tyee Husky group over there. How about
I'd
that?
like his money. I'll tell you that. I'd like some of Damon Williams's money. So,
God, it's so much fun if we can win that game, though. Of course, it's always fun when we beat the Huskies, but that one in particular, if we beat them at Husky Stadium,
you ruin their season.
They're going to be doing all that damage control going into the game, hoping the fans don't boo Williams. And then if he gets off to a shitty start and we somehow beat him and they're 0-1 and they lose to little brother. And you paying this kid $4 million
back. He can have 4 picks, and then we'll just have a wing ding. We'll do the Herd 1997 5 interception game and just rub his nose in it. That'd be awesome.
If they can beat him, there's a high probability their season spirals out of control with him, especially if he plays bad.
And then Puck, don't we have to, like when Arizona comes to Pullman, don't we have to have special treatment, roll out the red carpet for Humberto if he wants to come?
Well, we will that week get Humberto on the show.
See
if he can come up. Well, I will reach out. I'll start the communication now for Humberto. All right, that's going to do it for us. Old Crimson in the books, all brought to you by Flatstick Pub. I think it was highly entertaining. I don't know what we covered, but I hope we made you laugh. A little.
And thank you, by the way, Flatstick Pub. We love you for your sponsorship.
We do.
And we love your all of the things that you do for the Cougs above and beyond.
Yes.
Appreciate
Jim Moore, the go-to guy. Read his work, Jim Moore, the go-to guy.substack.com. Follow him on social media at CougsGo. Paul Sorensen, check him out on social media. Get up early because around about 8:30 in the morning, he retweets everything from the prior 2 days. So you can follow him at Paul Sorensen 28. I love you both. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Love you, Puck.